Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The word transmission has come up numerous times today, and how important it is, and what a great important part it is of this discussion. Unfortunately, this morning, the Department of Energy terminated a loan program for a major interregional transmission system in the Midwest. So here we are talking about how important transmission is, and here's the Department of Energy, and it wasn't a grant; it was a loan guarantee program. I just think it's the timing is somewhat ironic. We all know that the solar and wind are intermittent. We understand that. Everybody knows that. I was in the hydro business. That's also intermittent. It doesn't always rain, as well as wind and biomass and large-scale conservation. So, but what's really happening is really dramatic in terms of energy storage. If you have adequate energy storage, solar and wind are baseload, because you have something to make up the difference. And I used AI in your honor, Mr. Tench, to check on where we are on batteries as of 5 minutes ago. The U.S. added a record 10.4 gigawatts of utility-scale battery storage in 2024, marking a 66% increase from the prior year. In 2025, the EIA anticipates a record-setting year with another 18 gigawatts of utility-scale battery storage on the grid. Looking ahead, the EIA forecasts that U.S. utility-scale battery storage will nearly double, reaching 65 gigawatts by the end of 2026. In other words, the battery industry is no longer a fantasy or a distant dream. It's happening right now on a very substantial scale. And as you point out, Mr. Graham, like, it saved the day in Texas and in California, and it's already working, the idea of the integration of batteries with solar and wind. Let me talk for a minute, though, about transportation. Mr. Graham, like, this is what worries me. It used to be an electric bill in Maine was 25% transmission and distribution and 75% source of energy. It's now about 50-50, and transmission is getting more and more expensive. Everybody knows we have to rebuild the grid. My concern is it's going to be done in an expensive way that's going to add dramatically to ratepayers' costs. Mr. Gramick, you're nodding. I take it you agree. The record doesn't show nodding.
Absolutely. We are doing transmission in sometimes the most expensive way possible now, and we could change that.
Well, one way to change it is reconductoring. Here is a conventional electric line, high-tension conductor. Here is a carbon fiber-based conductor. This little guy will carry twice the energy as this one. So if we put these on the grid, we don't need to change all the poles, the right-of-ways, all of that kind of thing, and we can get a significant amount of additional throughput in the grid at a fraction of the cost of rebuilding the whole system. The same with, you're familiar with the term GETS, the various technologies that enable the grid to be managed more efficiently in terms of temperature and load and all those kinds of things. The estimates I've seen is that reconductoring and GETS could increase throughput on the grid by something like 40% at a fraction of the cost of rebuilding. My concern is that the rate-based model encourages utilities to build rather than to reconductor or use GETS. Mr. Gramick, talk to me about how we solve that problem. How do we provide incentives for those who will be rebuilding the grid to do so in the most cost-effective way and to minimize the effect on the ratepayers?
Yes, well, and I would note that cable that you're holding is manufactured near Los Angeles, but unfortunately 90% of that company's sales go to other countries which are deploying advanced conductors and grid-enhancing technologies in far greater levels than we are here.
Is that partially because there's no incentive on our utilities to use this kind of technology?
I think that's generally right. I think a lot of utilities are actually looking at them now, but we need to get beyond pilot stage to make it more systematic. And
another factor we haven't talked about is demand response. That is the ability of customers to modify their demand load in terms of what's on the grid. Is that a promising technology?
That's a very promising technology, and it's not just sort of the peak hour, but think about flexible data centers. Sometimes there's just some grid contingency that might happen once every 3 years, and if they can just curtail a little bit at that time, then we can integrate a lot more data centers without having to rely on the full network capacity, which takes so long to serve that data center. So that type of flexibility is critical.
And I should point out, I know I've run out of time, solar and wind today are A, the cheapest, and B, the quickest to deploy. And I'm worried that, as the Vice Chairman has said, there's a 5 to 7 year lag in new grid-scale gas turbines. We can't give China a 5 to 7 year head start in AI. And we've got to be timely as well as control costs. So thank you all for your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.